Alrighty, and we are live. I'll keep it down. I'll keep it down. I'm just excited. Welcome, potential viewers. I'm here with Liberal Sanity Project. We're gonna just have a discussion about illegal immigration, and it's gonna be different than the last one. We're kind of going into this blind because I haven't really talked to him about anything on this subject except for like 3 tweets. Was it?
Yeah, we ain't talk much. Hello?
Alrighty, I'm here. Sorry, I got distracted for a second. Yeah, so I think this will be a little different chat because to be honest, at this point, we don't know if we agree with each other or not.
All right, so where are we starting? We'll start here. Tell me why you hate brown people.
I don't hate brown people, dude.
Oh, okay. Well, so far we agree. That's good. That's a good start.
Yeah, but like that's.
Well, let's start by getting this absurd straw man out of the way that needs to die, but that people, not you, but conservatives keep repeating, and they need to learn to stop. And this straw man is that liberals or Democrats or progressives are advocates of illegal immigration. That is absolutely untrue.
Well, actually, that is a good place to start because that's one question I had that I didn't get to on Twitter, which is part of why I decided we should just do this live anyway. Like, now, what I'm gonna say is just my observations so far, but what have liberals wanted to do about illegal immigration? Because as far as I've observed, like especially ever since Trump announced that he was running for presidency, they've been saying anybody that wants border security and immigration reform is racist, condemned everything conservatives want to do to secure the border, and then put absolutely nothing on the table that would solve the problem.
Well, I'm not sure that's the case. I mean, Barack Obama increased funding for border security. Hillary Clinton actually voted for the partial construction of a wall when she was senator. So I reject this characterization. I'm also not sure can you tell me which Democrat has ever said that it's racist to want to build or to strengthen border security? I can think of Democrats.
That's the thing. I'm not sure. Like,
what's that?
I was like, I can't right said it, but like based off information I remember seeing is like one example would have been back when Schumer shut down the government for the weekend or whatever. Whenever Trump announced that he was going to end DACA, which I will say that's one thing I disagreed with Trump on. I didn't think that was a good idea to end that.
All right.
Schumer didn't help the situation because he goes in there and talks with Trump, and he basically says Trump has to do it his way or no way. Because Trump, I need to look that up actually, because I don't remember the exact. I don't remember the exact offer Trump had made, but Trump hadn't asked for much, but Schumer didn't want to give him anything, and then he shut down the government for the weekend.
No, then, Schumer actually offered partial construction of the wall. What was this, 2016 or 2017? Yes, 2017. What am I thinking? But I'm pretty sure Chuck Schumer offered partial construction of a wall in exchange for an extension of DACA, and the president walked away from it. Yeah, let me look it up. Probably should have had this information on hand. Although that's probably a good place to start. Like if Democrats are in favor of keeping DACA and the president's trying to get rid of DACA, and you yourself just said you disagree with him on that, why is it you compelled to protect the president or Republicans in this issue and not Democrats when Democrats seem to be the one with the ideas?
It's mostly based off just what I've observed. Like, and it's not just Democrats in the Senate. I don't know much about all of their positions on it, but like the biggest things that have caused my fluctuating in opinions on this is like actually a video I'm going to edit tonight about this, but like on a Facebook argument with a few friends of mine that are liberal leaning. And this is another place to start off. Like after Trump announced that he was considering ending birthright citizenship with an executive order. A friend of mine shared a document or shared an article labeling that announcement. I read it over a little bit, and I said that I agree. I labeled that I didn't because I didn't think it's fair how they use the law now, which is where you could just cross the border, have a kid over here, and that kid's automatically a citizen. You don't even have to have any stock in the United States. That kid's just automatically a citizen. And he gets on there. He says, "Well, I thought you wanted the Constitution followed." And I said, "Well, that's why I kind of think it's a smart strategy. I think Trump knows it's going to get rejected by the Ninth Circuit, and then they'll take it to the Supreme Court after he challenges it, because they've never had a discussion about birthright citizenship the way it's used today."
Well, I think they actually have, but I'd have to dig through case law for you.
I tried looking, and the one that I could find was United States versus Wong Kim Ark, and you're familiar with that one?
Vaguely, yeah. A Japanese or Chinese citizen, or Japanese person tried to assert they had the rights of a citizenship.
Pretty close. I plan to double check it a little more when I have a little more time.
But I'd have to refresh myself.
What I looked up in the brief time that I was looking it up, when I was looking for some information to respond to those arguments, it was a case where a Chinese immigrant couple, they did move over here. They moved over here, and they basically had everything but become fully legal citizens. They were in the process. They had a home. They had employment. But while they were here, before they became legal, they had a child. And the court basically ruled that because they basically shown that they have every intention of becoming citizens, their child had the right to be a citizen right away, instead of having to go through the process for a child that was already born in this country with parents that were set up in this country. But anyway, like, where that ties into what I was talking about earlier is they all accuse me of, like, what was said at the beginning, that I'm racist, I hate brown people, and all of this crap, all because I said I want border security. I think we need a wall. At the very least, need a wall between Laredo, Texas, and El Paso, Texas. Maybe a little further along to Mexico, because I've been as close as you can get to that. There's nothing down there.
We're jumping all over the place. To go back to the United States versus Wong Kim Ark, just looking at this on the Wikipedia article, can I read this part?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
He challenged the government's refusal to recognize his citizenship, and the Supreme Court ruled in his favor, holding that the citizenship language in the 14th Amendment encompassed the circumstances of his birth. That sounds like the court dealt with this issue, and the court basically decided that, yeah, if you're born here, you're a citizen. So, I mean, here's my question. Do you want this to go away?
What I specifically think should go away is, like, I think there should be, like, a time limit. I don't think you should be able to cross, like, let's say you cross, like, 2 hours before you give birth, and that kid's automatically a citizen. I don't think that should be okay, because there's cases where people literally do this. It's called birth tourism, where people from, like, Russia and Japan or China, one of the two, but Russia and one of those two Asian countries are the most popular. They'll fly to the closest U.S. city, give birth, and then their child is a citizen. They do fuck off back to where they came from, but their child now holds dual citizenship and can basically else, even though they never lived here.
Right. So
and that's something I think should end. And
well, this requires a fundamental change to our Constitution. Is that what you want to change?
I don't know if it would necessarily need an amendment. I think it would just need a definition. That's why I think the Supreme Court would handle it, because I don't think they would agree with it.
Let's say hypothetically Donald Trump puts in that executive order, and he says he yoinks away the birthright citizenship. Okay, and somebody sues, and this goes all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says, you know what, Donald Trump's right. He can yoink away the birthright citizenship. What does that mean for citizens who are already here, who are, and for all intents and purposes, anchor babies? Like, does that yoink away their citizenship too?
In my personal opinion, I don't think it would yank away that. I think that would be up to Congress to determine. Like, that's one of the things I wish they would have done with DACA, is take it to Congress, because Congress could have passed it.
Well, they did. There was something called the DREAM Act, but Congress never passed it. It was an idea championed by John McCain and basically full Democratic support, but Republicans never were on board with the idea of the DREAM Act, which is
Was
why
that before or after Trump?
This was before Trump.
Okay, because isn't that why Obama decided to sign it in with executive order?
Yeah, they'd been trying to pass the DREAM Act for years. I'll send you a thing on Twitter. But it's
okay, yeah, because
been debated in Congress for a while, and they've never gotten it done. But that's basically why Obama went through with the Deferred Action Program.
Yeah, honestly, that was one of the dumbest things he did because, like,
wait, I thought you said it was a good idea earlier.
No, I'm not the idea of the law, the way he went about it. Because signing it with an executive order, I'm saying that was a dumb idea because if signing it with an executive order, that's why Trump was easily able to look at turning it down.
Well, he hasn't been able to.
If I remember correctly, if I remember correctly, I believe he got enough backlash from not just the Democrats, but his own supporters that he stopped it and turned it over to Congress and said, "You want it, you figure out how to keep it."
No. And well, firstly, his own supporters hate DACA. Let's not, like, we know this is true. As far as like getting it done, he already tried to do this through an executive order, and every single time he's tried to do it, the courts have struck him down. I think let me look it up. A court basically said that, I don't know. Let me look it up real quick.
Okay, yeah.
Federal Appeals Court rules against Trump, setting stage for Supreme Court. I know you hate Vox because they're lib-cuck lefties with beta male soy boy reporters, but you'll get the gist of it. There's a story.
Okay. Oh.
Although, I mean, maybe Trump would get the ruling he wants, but that puts us backwards, right? That's a regression. It doesn't do anything to advance a sensible form of immigration reform. It actually takes us back to a system before where we had these people who are in this country that we can't just deport and we don't know what to do with.
Yeah, I agree. I need to look. I admit that I do need to look up more information on what all the government has been trying to do on it.
All over the place. I don't like this. Okay, so let me tell you my problem with this conversation. And this is immigration at broad. This is not just the illegal immigration, but I don't even have to say the two because they're often intermixed by conservatives. And what kills me about this conversation is there is a racial component to the way we talk about this issue that is never acknowledged. Like, Democrats pick up on it, liberals pick up on it, like, no problem. But centrists and conservatives flat out reject it. And I have a hard time like translating the issues. I'll give you an example. Steve King is a congressman from Iowa, anti-immigrant congressman who retweeted Geert Wilders, some fashy dude from Europe. I don't remember. But the tweet was, "We can't replace our culture with somebody else's babies." Right? That's a plainly racist tweet. And there are people who defend this to death, that it's perfectly okay. He's speaking the truth. How do we get immigration reform done with people like that? You've got
that's one of the problems. That's one of the not going to get any immigration reform done with people thinking that way. Like I'm trying to figure out how to word this because I don't want it to sound exactly the same as his, but like I do agree with the sentiment that we don't want to bring over cultures that do not align with America, like anybody that advocates for Sharia law.
Yeah, but I'm not even sure I agree with that.
Why not?
Because I don't believe that America was founded on any kind of like a unified culture. I'm not even sure I believe culture in itself is worth protecting. Either your culture survives or it doesn't, right? Like, this is the nature of all cultures. You take bits and pieces from other people and you learn from it. With immigration comes food, it comes music, it comes art. That's how we enrich our culture. We take from other cultures, and immigration just feels like it. I'm sorry, being anti-immigrant just feels like it's restricting all that access to all that good culture we could have. Nobody's advocating for somebody to come here and like enact Sharia law, but that seems like that's not a fear. Like that's not a thing that happens. Like so I don't understand the fear about that.
Well, the one example I can point to, and there's evidence of this happening, Linda Sarsour, she has openly advocated that she wants Sharia law enacted in the United States. Now she's not an immigrant, but she represents a lot of Muslim immigrants that do sympathize with her.
When Linda Sarsour says she wants Sharia law, do you think she means she wants people beheaded for certain crimes against the law, or she wants a religious institution to handle like personal matters like divorce or marriage or things like that, or customs?
Honestly, I'm willing to bet all of the above. The way it comes across to me whenever she says something like that is she wants Sharia law brought over here in the way that it's used in
this is the problem with people who make like Sharia law claims is Sharia law means different things to different Muslims. There's not even a unified agreement about what Sharia law means. I mean, frankly, it's not something I'm ever scared. I mean, do you really think there's ever going to be a Sharia law in the United States? Like, it seems like such an absurd fear.
I'll put it this way, in the way I put against this guy, I don't know if he was a troll or if he was a legit Muslim. It's open interpretation, but I was arguing with this guy. I was literally just trolling him and having fun with him because he was being stupid. But he was basically advocating for exactly that because he had tweeted a picture of these women that were in full burqa, like where all you see is their eyes. And he kept going on and on about how the liberals are going to help the Muslims take over because the liberals are going to take away our guns. And then after they take away our guns, they're going to come over here and enact Sharia law and force us all into their religion, yada, yada, yada.
It's true. We're going to do that.
And see, I knew it. I got proof. I'm going to clip this and send it to him. No, I'm just kidding.
Dude, my profile says undocumented illegal Jew who supports white genocide. What did you think you were getting into with this conversation?
I haven't seen your profile in a while.
Oh, well, I'm an undocumented illegal Jew who supports white genocide. Don't you? Do you support white genocide?
Depends on which whites you're talking about.
They're all good to me.
I'm gonna get fucking banned off of YouTube.
Every now and oh please.
Wait a minute. I take genocide. That's okay.
Yeah. What kills me is every now and again I get somebody who thinks that I'm being serious with that profile. JF banned me from his stream. I am no longer allowed on JF's channel because I told him I wasn't Jewish, but my Twitter profile said I was, and he thought I was serious.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Good Lord, man. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know. So here's my problem. Circling this back to immigration. When it comes to immigration, I can think of benefit after benefit after benefit after benefit that dwarfs the costs by miles. And I just can't see any reason why we shouldn't have a more liberal immigration system, why we shouldn't let more people over.
Honestly, let's go with that. I think that's a little more what I wanted to get on because, like I said, I'm not as educated as I should be on how the Democrats that are currently in power have been handling this. All I know is all sides are doing.
They don't know either.
I don't think anybody in our government knows, to be completely honest. Like
especially the president.
I wanted to have this. Like I wanted to have this discussion, and I also am releasing a video tomorrow, which I will admit at this point a couple statements I probably should retract, but I'm not gonna bother because
yeah, whatever. I mean, it's all good.
5 tries to.
So
it's one of those videos. It took me 5 tries to record it, so I'm not going to bother trying to fix the mistake.
Liberal an immigration system as possible. I want as many people to come here as possible. I think good things happen when they come here. What do you want?
This is how I put it in the video. Like I want it done, and stuff I think we should do. We need to take care of border security. Like something needs to be done on the southern border because, like I said, we got miles of that border that is not taken care of whatsoever. And one thing I never hear now, this is mainly liberal-leaning people that I talk about this with, but a lot of them refuse to acknowledge the fact that a lot of terrible things happen on the border. Human trafficking, drug trafficking. A lot of our drugs come from down there.
Yeah.
As far as border security goes, I want something that stops that.
Okay.
Excuse me. Taking care of that and ensuring some way that we only, let's say for sake of argument, we reduce it to where we've taken care of 90% of illegal immigration.
Well, I think we already have. Immigration from Mexico is actually declining and has been for several years now.
It's slowing down, just not as much as it should.
Well, how much should it go down? Like, why would you want to reduce it? I guess.
Illegal immigration itself, I would want it reduced to where it's at the very least like 80 to 90% contained. And like, I have a few reasons for this, and is one reason why I get so irritated when people just immediately jump on and say, "Oh, you're just racist." I'm just like, okay, like, here's my thing.
Well, to be fair, a lot of people talking about this are racist. Like, a lot of people, like, once you just reduce their issues, like to keep like regressing on their issues, you just find it's just rooted in racism. I'm sorry, that's an anecdote. Go on.
Like, well, but like I've seen a variations of that, but like anyway, like I said, secure the border to where we got about 90%. Only like 10% of our immigrants are illegal. Let's say that. Now, I want the process to be set up to where, like, maybe we let you in, we give you a green card, and you can come in and work on the process, because I know the process takes a little bit. Get it down to where we can let people in, but secure enough that if need be for economical reasons, because I mean, like, we could probably agree that you can't just let everybody come in uncontrolled.
Well, I don't know what uncontrolled mean. I don't really have a problem with people coming in. I'd like everybody to immigrate legally, but I'd also like to I would like to reform our system so that legally means really just like getting a work visa like within the year, right? I want it to be as simple and streamlined as possible.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think we should overdo the whole system so that, like, you, or I'll use somebody that we know on YouTube. You know, Barbara for You to See.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. She's currently back in her home country right now because her visa expired.
Good riddance.
I think we should. Why, you don't like her?
Well, she can't assimilate to my culture.
I think she's assimilated pretty well. She's awesome.
Oh, is she? Tell me what she thinks that's any different from what a fundamentalist Muslim thinks.
She doesn't think anything like a Muslim. She's Slavic.
Oh, Slavics can't think. There can't Muslim Slavics. She's a conservative, right?
Conservative. I don't really think she has a political leaning, but
okay.
Honestly, to be honest, I don't know what her political leaning is. She's just more. I'll just say anti-SJW. That's all I know about her. That's most of what she's covered. But like, now when I specifically the only Muslims I don't want to come over here are anyone that would actively try to invoke like Sharia law, like the common one, the one where they require every woman in this country to dress full burqa. They want.
I wouldn't worry about that, but okay. Yeah, I agree. No crazy religion. Well,
put it this way: I know that it doesn't exist. I know that they're few and far between, but they do exist, and I don't want them specific people to come. I don't want actual terrorists to come. Ones that would actually.
Exist, right? Like it's saying, I really hope the Nords don't come over and enact a cult to Santa Claus. Right? It's if you know it doesn't exist, why would you even like formulate your arguments around that?
I think I misspoke. I meant I know that there's few and far between, but they do exist to some extent. And the few of them that do exist, I don't want to come over here. Usually they align with the same ones that would come over here and have no problem blowing up a mall in the name of Allah.
Well, obviously,
those are the ones I don't.
Don't want somebody blowing up.
Those are the ones I don't want coming over here.
Oh, cool. We agree then. So, I mean, provided that they don't come over here to blow up a mall, you're fine with just largely open borders?
Yeah, for the most part, as long as people come in through the front door and don't sneak in.
Yeah,
I don't have a problem.
The nationality doesn't matter, right? Like just wherever you're from, this is a land of opportunity. It doesn't matter what your background is. This is America. You can come be an American, make something of yourself, right? Proposition
yeah,
nation.
Pretty much.
All right. Well,
yeah, pretty much.
We agree.
Yeah, and furthermore, like I said, I agree with setting it up so that it's easier for people to come over here, make it an easier process. And I even said, like, for sake of argument, let's say we secured the border successfully.
Well, I think we already have.
I'm in favor of a whole new program. I'm in favor of a whole new program where we give the illegal immigrants in this country, we give them 1 year to start signing up. I don't think mass deportation is necessary at all, but like give them like, let's say, like, I'm gonna say roughly a year to start the process. Like, I'm not saying a year to become a citizen. I know it takes way longer than that, but excuse me, to at least get your foot in the door.
Well, I agree, but the problem with being an illegal immigrant is there's no technical way for them to have a pathway to citizenship. To become a citizen, you already require like a permanent residency visa or a green card or something, which you can only get after having been here for a resident for 5 years or something. And for that, you have to actually apply from like out of your native country. Like, you can't just show up here and like as an illegal and then become and apply for it, right? It doesn't work like that. So that's what Democrats talk about when they talk about pathway to citizenship. There's actually no mechanism for illegal immigrants to get on a pathway to citizenship, which is why they stay perpetually hidden.
Yeah, like going into my like actual opinion on this, I'm acknowledging the fact that needs to change, but like a path to citizen, assuming we fix all that, we allow all the illegal immigrants in the country currently. We tell them you got 1 year to sign up. At least get your foot in the door. However you got to do it. As long as you started the process and we can find that you are working hard to become a citizen, you get to stay. Because I believe that we'll leave out the only people that will leave out are criminals, like legit criminals that are trying to stay under the radar, and those are the people that I have no problem with deporting because those are the ones we need.
Yeah.
If you're here and you've hurt people, you need to go back to your home country.
Basically.
And
but I have to ask. So you're saying things that I agree with, but you have this diehard commitment to Donald Trump, and there's a complete mismatch because Donald Trump doesn't think the way you think. So I need this explained to me. Like, Donald Trump wants less immigration. He calls himself a nationalist, and he says like people from other countries that aren't Norway or from shithole countries, right? African countries. Like, so how do you reconcile this?
The fact that I am not a zombie Trump supporter.
Well, that's
I don't have to agree with everything he says. I don't have to agree with everything he does. I never agreed with the shit he tried to do to repair Obamacare because it was basically the same thing with his freaking name on it. And like I said, some of his immigration stuff, like I don't think he is 100%. I don't want immigrants here at all. I mean, like with that recent deal with Jim Acosta, he said specifically, "I want the people to come. I just want them to come legally because we need the people."
Okay. I'm not convinced that's true. I mean, I understand him saying that, but his White House protested to a UN statement, a UN resolution saying racism was bad in so many words. So hello?
I'm still here.
Are you okay?
Somebody else.
My nigga, what's happening? You.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah. Did you die?
No, I'm fine. Sorry, I was waiting for my computer for a second. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I was taking a trash out. I threw away my water bottle. I think the headphones disconnected. Still there?
Hello?
Special. Can you hear me okay?
Are you done?
I think so. What happened?
I don't know. You seem to be going away and doing stuff.
Oh, I was throwing away my water bottle. I think I was throwing away my water bottle. I think the headphones disconnected while I was doing that.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so here's the way I see it. Immigration reduces crime. Immigration helps the economy. I don't think our president thinks that way. Our own White House rejected a UN statement saying that hate speech was bad, that racism was bad. Our president, by calling, what's up?
How exactly did the UN define it? Because we have all seen in Britain that, like, this definition of hate speech is anything that offends somebody. Like it's to the point. Like, let's say you're walking down through town and you have a gay friend with you. You joke around with this gay friend and you call him a faggot because your buddies. He out of hating like that. It's bad enough to the point somebody walking by could take offense and get you arrested for saying faggot.
Hang on, give me a second. Let me look it up. Like it's I remember reading it, and its language was really innocuous.
Yeah, and like that's one thing I would have to see the language on that and see what they are calling hate speech and racism, because if it's in the definition that I commonly see them using, I would agree with the White House on that, because racism and hate speech are bad.
Declaration. Here's I have it right here. I did a video on this, so that's why I have this handy. If you're curious, I'll send it to you on Twitter. The swatter. Just from the summary. The present report submitted pursuant to the Human Rights Council Resolution 1815 provides information on constitutional and legal measures to prevent racism, racial discrimination, and xenophobia, and on actions and procedures to address violations of human rights stemming from the rise of racism and xenophobia in political circles and society at large, especially with regard to their incompatibility with democracy. It also provides information on efforts to reflect multicultural diversity in political and legal systems within society through promoting diversity to improving democratic institutions, making them more participatory and inclusive. That's just the summary statement. Like, you can read the whole document, but I'm pretty sure they don't define it. But seriously, like, what dangerous language that is. That whole thing just said racism was bad. Just agree that racism was bad. And the White House pitched a temper tantrum over it. So this debate is mired by a racial animus, was my point. In fact, it seems to be talking about racial violence in particular. It reaffirmed that acts of racial violence do not constitute legitimate expressions of opinion, but unlawful acts.
I put that in chat for anybody who wants to see it.
Are you going over it, or are you talking to somebody? I can't tell.
I was sorry. I was talking to myself. I don't know why I did that. Keep doing that. Yeah, I was pasting in the chat for anybody that wanted to read it. And while I was waiting for it to load on my end, my computer's really slow.
What up, man? Misanthropic. So the White House had a problem with this. So I'm using this to segue into immigration. I don't believe for a second they're okay with the idea of Mexican immigrants coming here legally or otherwise.
Oh, fuck, I got the wrong. Oh, that's why my dumbass clicked on the wrong freaking article. What are you looking at?
Make me mess my makeup up by rolling my head.
Racial. Provides on constitutional legal measures to prevent racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia.
Let me put up the article where they protest. But basically, I mean, there's no language in that is a threat to anybody. It's just a declaration about how racism is bad. Trump appointee gets UN document on racism and says leaders do not have a duty to condemn hate speech. That's the headline from CNN article. Let me read the statements. Shut up, CNN.
What was that title again?
Huh?
Well, if it's an article, do you want to? If it's an article, do you want to screen share, or send it to me so I can screen share? That way I can read it easier instead of having to click between everything.
It's in your thing.
Alrighty. Let me open that up, and then I'll screen share it. That way I can. my bandwidth up.
This is the real golden part. Viprek appears to have struck out an entire section that links fighting racism with building a diverse democracy, crossing out the language. Quote, acknowledging the linkage and complementing. Somebody talking or what?
I didn't hear anything.
Okay. Acknowledging the linkage and complementarity of the combat against racism, racial discrimination, and xenophobia with a long-term construction of a democratic, non-discriminatory, and multicultural society based on the recognition, respect, and promotion of cultural, ethnic, and religious diversity. Viprek instead makes a case against multiculturalism in his comments. Quote, what's the evidence for such complementarity? Some commentators assert that a unified culture as opposed to multiculturalism is the best way to promote social trust and combat racism. I mean, we don't have to read the entire article. The point was that the White House has an animus against minorities and immigrants.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to read the entire article. I was just trying to get to your spot and catch up with what you were reading. And my computer is being really, really slow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope you would know that I'm not lying to you, right?
Okay. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing because it's slowing down my computer a lot.
So, do we agree with this statement that the White House has an animosity against immigrants and minorities?
Read that one statement again.
I wasn't reading a statement. This is my statement. This was the assertion I made. The White House, this present White House, has a certain animosity towards immigrants and minorities.
I'm honestly not 100% sure that I can agree with that. Like, I heard Trump himself say in that meeting that he wants people to come, he just wants them to come legally.
Well, he's also described people coming from Africa like coming from shithole countries, with the implication being that these are shithole people.
That is one comment I will agree was in poor taste. I don't think he was necessarily talking about the people, but I think it's a mixture because there are some people that come from those countries that aren't good people, but yeah, I will agree that was a bad statement to make because not all of them are.
Well, I'm sorry, not all of them are what?
I was saying that was a comment that wasn't made in. He did not think that comment through at all. I don't think he meant it the whole entire way it came out, but
I think he did. Why do you think he didn't? This is a constant thing. This is what I was talking about earlier when I said this conversation is mired with a racial animus that nobody seems to agree is happening. Okay, so he said something that was racist, and you say he didn't really mean it that way. Okay, why do you say he didn't mean it that way?
I don't necessarily think he meant it towards all the people. Like,
okay, so that he's also called Mexicans rapists and murderers in his speech when he announced he was running for president. That doesn't bother you any?
That one was taken out of context, and they've stated he wasn't saying all Mexicans were that way.
No, but
he was saying the problem with illegal immigration was it was one of those things that was not worded properly. Like, there are a lot of immigrants coming in illegally that are like that.
Okay. So when Trump said that Judge Suriel couldn't be impartial in the Trump University lawsuit because he was Mexican, he had Mexican parents, was that also not what he meant? He phrased that the wrong way too?
I don't think he was saying that because the guy's I don't think he was saying that because the guy's Mexican, therefore he's dumb.
He did.
I think he was saying that because the guy's Mexican and everybody's taken that previous comment you mentioned out of context. So he thought the judge would be biased because he'd be thinking, well, this is Trump and he hates Mexico.
Okay. Donald Trump said Judge Suriel should recuse himself, that he wasn't impartial. When he was asked why, he said he's building a wall. Judge Suriel's Mexican. Like, there's no way about that. His argument was that Judge Suriel couldn't be impartial because he was Mexican and Trump was building a wall. Like, there's loads of different, like, so you're doing exactly what I said would happen. Like, I said, like,
go lay down.
Don't you see that?
I'm trying to figure out how to word my argument properly. Like, I don't think it was saying that his race makes him too stupid to make this decision.
No. He said his race made him incapable of being impartial.
I think what he meant was that the guy was going to be biased against Trump because he's Mexican and believes that Trump is racist towards Mexicans.
Okay, so just to be clear, when the White House comes out and says the United States has no duty to condemn hate speech, that's not the White House being racist. And when Trump says Mexico is sending rapists and murderers, and some I'm sure are good people, not being racist. And when he says Judge Suriel can't be impartial because he's Mexican, not racist. None of those are racist.
Not in the context of which I believe he meant that in. If he said, like, if Trump had come out and said all of these damn illegals, they're all rapists, they're all murderers, they're all killers, we need to send them all back to where they came from, that I would have agreed was racist.
Anything short of that is not racism. So what about when Trump said there's good people in a white nationalist rally?
We talked about this last time. Like, from what I heard was there were not everybody on the right side or the left side start violence, and not everybody on either side were members of the extremist groups that came there. Okay.
This was a neo-Nazi rally, right? Like, you don't talk about a neo-Nazi rally with the premise that there's fine people on both sides, right? There's either the Nazis and there's the not Nazis. There's everyone else. None of this strikes you as a little bit racist. Do you think Donald Trump's ever said anything that's racist?
The most racist thing I think I've heard him say was that comment about the Indians that was said back in the 90s, and
yeah, they don't look Indian to me.
Yeah, I thought that was a really dumb and kind of racist statement.
That's the most racist thing you can think that came from Donald Trump.
That's the most racist one I can think of.
The fact that his organization was sued by the Justice Department for racial housing practices, that doesn't do anything for you?
Oh, say that one again.
Trump Hotels, or Trump, yeah, was sued by the United States Justice Department for discrimination in housing. So what would happen was they started this investigation where they send a black couple in to look for housing at Trump hotels, to look for a place to stay, and they get told no vacancies. Nothing's happening. So then they do the exact same thing with a white couple, and then they get told there's vacancies. Donald Trump got sued for this.
Was he involved in that stuff happening in any direct way?
I mean, it's his.
I asked that because I've seen situations where. What I mean by that is, like,
what about saying Barack Obama was a Kenyan? Is that racist?
You'd have to give me the full statement, because I mean, he's not wrong. But Obama does have Kenyan citizenship.
He pioneered the birther movement. He's the one who's promoted this conspiracy theory that Barack Obama was not born in the United States and he had to produce his birth certificate to prove that he was a U.S. citizen. That didn't strike you as racist?
I never heard that he was the one that started it, to be honest. So that one would probably be news to me. Like, I know that he peddled it a lot, and the one thing I said on that whole birthday movement, I'll admit I didn't pay too much attention to that when that whole thing was going on because I was in high school at the time. But what I remember happening is, and I said this later when I got a little more information on it. I don't know who started it. All I simply said was I do think it should be taken a look at briefly because it's not that hard to look at a birth certificate. Take a look real quick, and then if it's
naming these, that's I can just keep naming these, and you have to twist yourself into knots to defend them. Why can't you just say maybe he's got a problem with other races?
Because the couple examples with Mexicans, I don't think he's got a full problem with Mexicans, and I don't
retweet the white nationalist account.
What account did he retweet? Because I don't remember that one either.
Britain First. They're a British
Isn't
white
that
nationalist group.
Isn't that Tommy Robinson's deal?
Yeah.
That was not white nationalist.
Britain First is a white nationalist group, dude. And do you remember what? I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Do you know?
I don't pay at.
What? Do you know what the British National Party was?
Vaguely.
Okay, I'm just going to read the Wikipedia article. Britain First is a British fascist political organization formed in 2011 by former members of the BNP. Britain First campaigns primarily against multiculturalism and what it sees as the Islamization of the United Kingdom and advocates for the preservation of traditional British culture. It's attracted attention by taking direct action, such as Christian patrols and invasions of British mosques. Are we going to pretend they're not a white nationalist group?
That was Britain First?
Yes, and Donald Trump retweeted snuff videos from Britain First. He retweeted videos from Britain First of some kids getting thrown off a rooftop. Like, you're doing. I love you. Okay, listen.
I'm looking this one up again. I'm looking this one up real quick.
Hey, dude. I love you. Okay.
Huh?
I love you. You are my brother in Christ.
All right.
You are doing everything I said you would do at the beginning of this. Remember when I said my whole problem with this is that the conversation is mired in racial animus and nobody seems to agree it's happening?
Pull it out.
Okay. So we can
sorry. Sorry. I was trying to find it.
I want. I can't even get to libertarians. These people who were traditionally pro-immigrant, right? Libertarians were traditionally a pro-immigrant group, and now they've completely jumped ship since the election of Donald Trump, up to and including that piece of fucking human shit, Sticks and Hex and Hammer 666. That guy is one of the worst ones, and Stefan Molyneux. Like, I hate Sticks. I really do. I hate that guy so much. What happened?
Why do you hate Sticks?
Because he's a piece of shit. He's a Holocaust denier. How's that?
I've literally never heard him deny the Holocaust.
He did. He had a video where he says these supposed death camps at Auschwitz, they didn't really have gas chambers. Those were just showers. And Zyklon B, that wasn't used to gas. It's just a delousing agent. If you were going to kill somebody with that, you'd have to like get it everywhere, all over you. Like, that's a Holocaust denier, dude. Hang on. I mean, the whole rift between Destiny and Sticks was that Destiny retweeted that video of him saying that.
How long ago was that? Because I've only started following Sticks after his debate with Richard Spencer on Warski's channel.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a video from Destiny that has part of like the part where he goes over in it. Oh, actually, no. Never mind. It's right here. It's terribly titled Holocaust Denial Totally Exposed. But the point is, like, the dude outright says, like, the showers at Auschwitz weren't gas chambers. They were just showers. Like, how do we talk immigration with people like this?
Careful.
Like, libertarianism used to be about free market capitalism and the free movement of labor and the free movement of capital. Libertarians used to be the biggest proponents of open borders. And now they're all white nationalists who are afraid of white genocide. Like, how did they shift in like 10 years to that?
Well, I can tell you one thing. Styx Hexenhammer has never said anything close to that. He's never said anything against immigration. He's only said that same thing that I say, that they should come in here legally.
Okay, that's not a libertarian position is the point. Right? Libertarians...
At least part of it.
Nope.
Libertarians don't believe in borders. Like, I mean, they believe in borders, but they don't believe like closed borders. They're all about the free movement of labor. That's capitalism. They want capitalists, dude.
Are you afraid of stuff?
Let me see. No. Well, I know. I understand what you're saying.
That is why.
Hey guys, quiet down. I know what you're saying is true. I know a lot of them are. I know there's a lot that are for open borders. I remember watching a debate between Lawrence Southern and this guy. This guy was actually full of anarcho-capitalists that was for zero borders whatsoever.
Can I address Mr. Misanthropic, who I think is a little bit salty? Am I going to show the video where Styx says the Holocaust was real? It happened. No, I don't care. Like, just because he's like, this is the same thing he said in the video. Like, yeah, there were death camps. I'm just saying, like, it's exaggerated though. They weren't really gas. Like, this is a denier talking point. Like, actual Holocaust deniers agree that there were death camps. They just say the numbers of dead were exaggerated. That the gas chambers were fake. Like, Styx had all of their talking points down.
I don't know.
And you know how I know he's a Holocaust denier, dude? I just did a video on Holocaust denial. Some of this information isn't stuff you're going to find unless you go out to look for it. Right? Like, he brings up Auschwitz swimming pools in that. Did you know there was a swimming pool at Auschwitz?
I don't know that I'll admit I don't know everything about the Holocaust. I just know the basics.
No. That's fine. That's my point. Most people don't. Right? And the only reason you would know that there's swimming pools at Auschwitz is if you're a Holocaust denier who's trying to exaggerate that or try to insinuate that the Holocaust was exaggerated, or you're rebutting a denier and you have to look up the swimming pools. Like, that's a thing nobody would know unless they went out of their way to look it up. And he spread it like, these places, they had swimming pools, for God's sakes. Like, dude, that's a denier. I know we've taken this like way outside of the area where we're comfortable.
Yeah, we did, because like I'm blanking out here because we're trailing into territory that I've never studied or know anything about.
Well, but you understand, like, okay, I'm gonna like go back several paragraphs. You're doing that thing I said that would happen. Can you acknowledge that?
Not totally, because I'm mainly just disagreeing with you on certain things that you consider racist that I did not see that context.
Cool. So can we talk about which things those that you don't consider racist? What context I'm leaving out?
Well, I stated with like the like I stated with the comment about they're bringing crime, they're bringing murder, they're rapists, yada yada. Right. I don't think that one was him saying that every single immigrant that has come across that border is doing that. I believe he was addressing I will admit he was exaggerating a lot.
It was, dude.
But
do you think actual racists think that every single immigrant or every single minority commits crime?
I believe that a true racist will use any excuse they can to get rid of people.
Yes, exactly.
Because
Right?
this is the difference that I would say though. A
You've nailed it.
racist would say they're all rapists, they're all murderers, they're all criminals. We should get rid of all of them.
So what if
A racist wouldn't acknowledge that he thinks some of them are good people and that they want people to come just legally through a process where we can vet them and get rid of those rapists.
So what if I told you that the vast majority of immigrants to this country commit less crime than native born?
I never denied that.
Okay, but Trump seems to be denying.
It's one of those things.
So I mean, this gets me to that thing, right? You said he would say whatever he could to get people to oppose immigration from Mexico. You know, he'd say whatever he could. Isn't that it? Like if Mexicans aren't committing crime, Mexican immigrants aren't committing crime, and he's still saying they're bringing drugs, they're rapists, they're murderers. Doesn't that sound like he's trying to get everything he can to get people to kick him out?
No, I don't think he's trying to stop us from bringing them in. I think he's trying to get us to agree that we need to deal with the crime that happens on the border. We need to vet the people that are coming through. We need to prevent them from being able to just walk across the border willy-nilly.
Why? They lower our crime rate.
Yes, but like put it this way, like I addressed the crimes that are a big problem down there. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know that there are problems. There's a lot of Border Patrol stories about this happening, but we got human trafficking going on down there. We got drug trafficking going on down there. That's where a good majority of our drugs come from, is across the Mexican border.
And we're all against that, yeah. But I don't think that's the language you use when you want to talk about that, right? I think if you're going to talk about drug trafficking, I mean, that's a law enforcement issue. In fact, that's a healthcare issue at the height of the opioid crisis. He made that specifically about race. He didn't say like this. He said Mexico was bringing drugs.
Well, because a lot of those drug cartels are, well, they're not necessarily all Mexican people, but that's where they're coming from. Because Mexico contains the entire southern border is nothing but Mexico. That's why he's saying they're coming from Mexico, because that's literally where they're coming from. It has nothing to do with Mexico. There's a difference between Mexicans and Mexico.
He was talking about Mexicans, dude.
Did he say they're coming from Mexicans, or did he say they're coming from Mexico?
Okay, when he says they're rapists and they're immigrants, and that's all coming from Mexico, I think it's safe to assume that's Mexicans, right? Like, we can't reason this inductively? We're really splitting hairs over this?
Yeah, because I don't totally agree with that. Like, yes, they're coming from Mexico, but I don't think they're coming from Mexico, but that doesn't mean they're all Mexicans. Like, I'd look this up. I'll even try to see if I can find it real quick. 75% of our legal immigration comes across the southern border, and it's not just Mexicans. Mexicans make a majority of it, but they ain't.
It's Latin America,
but they're not the whole thing. it's from Latin America, South America. I think even one of the biggest
40% of all illegal immigrants are actually visa overstays, which makes the idea of a wall and better border enforcement a little asinine.
Yeah, but the border will take care of 60% of that, which 60% I think is worth it.
Like, immigration from Mexico is declining. Firstly, I'm not even convinced. Firstly, if somebody's going to brave a country as corrupt as Mexico, a country as hostile as Mexico, a desert as rough as the Chihuahuan Desert, they're not going to be deterred by a wall.
It depends on what wall you're thinking of. Are you thinking about a 10-foot tall cinder block wall that I would put around my yard, or the Great Wall of China?
Well, let's say how big a wall do you want? Like, do you think the Mexicans don't know what ladders are?
I think it should be big. I think it should be tall enough that they can't cross the wall.
Okay.
And not
should it be electrified?
This is how I would build the. This is how I would build a wall.
Herman Cain suggested an electrified wall. Should it be electrified?
Depends on exactly where you're putting that, but put it this way: what would the specific part that I'm worried about is, at the very least, from Laredo, Texas to El Paso, Texas. I've been as close as you can get to the border on U.S. highways. There is nothing down there.
Mm-hmm.
That's where a lot of people cross. Like, what would you do to secure that part that doesn't cost a whole bunch of manpower?
I wouldn't, because you can't. Firstly, the idea that you're going to build a wall across this we already have an actual wall. It's the Rio Grande #1, but this vast expanse on the southern United States border is insane. It's expensive, number one. We're already running a deficit, number two, and immigration's going down from Mexico. Like, what? It seems like a solution to a problem that is already solving itself. Like, I don't understand why we would do that. In fact, I don't even understand why we would want to do that, because the vast majority of immigration we get from Mexico is beneficial to us. Like, this is what I'm talking about with the conversation mired in a cultural or racial animus. A lot of it, I mean, just, I wish a lot of people would admit that it just comes down to the fact that they're brown. Any job a Mexican could take from you could conceivably also be taken by a Canadian. Any border,
but Canadians are literally 6% of our immigration, or actually, even by this graph, it's 3% of our legal immigrants. Oh wait, shit! I take that back. I looked up the wrong one. That was regular immigration.
Well, I mean, what does it matter? I guess, like,
well, there's a difference.
The same standards apply on either side of the border. These arguments apply either which way, right?
The difference between the southern border and the northern border is only 6% of our illegal immigration is Canadian. Canada is the only country to our north. Not hardly any people cross the Canadian border illegally. And there's towns and population all along that border. There's not much of that border that is left as vulnerable as the southern border is.
Okay, so how much do you want to spend on this border wall? I mean, to me, it's like that's money that could go to healthcare. That's money that could go to building new schools, could go to paving our roads, paying our teachers more, paying our police officers more, investing in green energy. But we're going to build it on a wall. So how much do you want to spend on this?
What? Why? Why is that here?
It would depend on the. I don't know how much some bitch would cost. I did like what the one thing I did know is I like the
around the 300 billion number, but let me look up.
You got a charging port.
So between, let's see. Democratic staff for the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee said it would be about 70 billion. So it would cost between 21 billion and 70 billion dollars. Now we're running a deficit right now that's something like 900 billion. That's a significant chunk of cash to solve a problem that's already solving itself. I mean, you agree immigration from Mexico is going down, right?
Yes, I have heard that line. My bigger concern is that
over a line. It's true, right? Do you agree that that's true, or do I need to get you a source?
I do agree that that's true. I've seen the numbers saying that it is going down, which I do agree is a good thing. My biggest deal is taking care of the drug problem, the human trafficking problem, and
so this is a problem that could be better solved by assisting Mexico with law enforcement than it could be by our own immigration system, right?
That's assuming Mexico will even work with us. I mean, for fuck's sake, their president decided to climb our fence and sit on top of it to criticize our stance on illegal immigration rather than working to fix his damn country so that people don't want to leave.
No, you've nailed the problem perfectly. Why would they want to work with us when our president talks about Mexico the way he does?
Well,
he says we're going to build a wall to keep you out, and you're going to pay for it.
Oh yeah, I will agree 100%. That was the stupidest thing I ever heard him say. I'm just like, don't bother with that. Just pay for the damn wall ourselves. It's our wall.
So I'm just to be clear, how much you just want to reduce immigration, or you just want to reduce immigration from Mexico?
I want to reduce illegal immigration and the major crimes like the drugs, the human trafficking, and MS-13 from crossing the border.
Okay. And me telling you that immigrants commit less crimes than natives doesn't already suggest that that's nothing you have to worry about? I mean, I'll give you sources on that if you like. I've prepared outlines.
I'm not disagreeing that. I'm not
so
disagreeing that. I never disagreed that illegal immigrants commit less crime. I just think if there's something we could do to prevent, we should do this with almost everything. If you could prevent a crime somehow, then take the steps to prevent it. I don't think that just because it's not as big of a problem as native crime means we should just ignore it.
I agree, but I don't think building a wall is preventing crime. And I also don't think, I mean, if anything, reducing the amount of immigrants we get raises crime. Immigrants lower crime. This has the opposite effect of what you want. If you actually want to reduce crime, you'll allow more immigrants in, paradoxically.
Holy shit. I'll be. I'm gonna step away for 1 second. I gotta take a piss.
Okay, go do that. Hello, Mr. Misanthropic. How are you doing? Chilling, killing. Word up, G.
All right, sorry about that chat and LSP. I'm back now.
What up,
but
homie?
anyway, not much. All right, thanks, Mr. Misanthropic. I will check that out. I got my thought. Okay, jog my memory. What was the last thing you asked me?
Why do you hate brown people?
I don't hate brown people. I love brown people.
Okay, so
I grew up in an area that's I grew up in a county that's 20% Hispanic.
20. What if it was 60% Hispanic?
Then I would hate them because that's too many.
That's too many. Yeah, that's too much for me.
I'm kidding. That was a joke. Disavow.
Oh, she'd be surprised how many people actually wouldn't make that. This is the thing, like, oh, I hate the
saying there was no need to unplug mine to plug yours in, right?
What?
Our phone charger is the exact same.
No, mine's longer. And so's my charger.
I'm gonna continue drinking and eating my salad. I'm talking to my best friend.
Okay. Anyway, but no, I don't hate brown people. There was something I was gonna mention. Oh yeah, that's what it was. It was on the Mexican president. Like the Mexican president back at that time, he don't seem like concerned at all. Like, I think they switched presidents since Donald Trump got into office.
Yeah,
but
they have a new president.
The first one is the one I'm referencing. He did not seem at all interested in dealing with any of the problems of his country, which is part of why I believe he didn't want to work with Trump at all. I mean, like, he decided to climb one of our fences and be like, well, see, we can just climb the fence. I'm just like, okay, why are you criticizing the fact that we want to secure our border and deal with the illegal immigration problem when you have no intentions or seem to even care about fixing the problems in your country that cause people to want to come over here in the first place.
Well, I mean, it's a very poor country. It's a very corrupt country. It's not exactly a fixable problem. Now, why they don't work with us, you'll hate my answer, but it probably has something to do with Trump's rhetoric, which you seem to not agree is racist in any way. I don't know. I don't know how many more examples I could give you, but yeah, like, I don't know. Like, I think saying the judge
matters,
can't be impartial because he's Mexican is pretty damn racist.
I think here's an analogy I can. Actually, all right, never mind. Bracket that won't work. Or put it this way, you know how when they're signing somebody up for jury duty, they'll interview the person before the crime is brought up to make sure that they're not going to have bias about the criminal?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what essentially what Trump meant. I think he meant that, well, because he's Mexican, he thinks I'm racist against Mexicans simply due to the fact that I don't want to build a wall. Therefore, he's biased in this case.
So let me get this right. Trump prejudged a Mexican and thought that this Mexican would think he was racist against Mexicans. Right?
Yeah, I guess that's a better way to put it.
What's another word for prejudged here? Prejudiced? Like that is what racism is, right? It's judging people.
It's not racism isn't judging people. Racism is hating somebody based on their race or treating them differently based on their race.
That feels like you're splitting hairs. What did you think is different from what I said?
Well, if you unless you're I think I might have jumped the gun a little bit, but if you're simply saying that he's just judging. Okay, you know, I forget I said anything.
Does this statement sound like I love somebody? This person can't be impartial because of his race. Does that sound like something somebody who loves that race says?
In that planet context, no.
That's what he said, dude.
Yeah, but there's context behind it. There's a case going on where this guy was going to judge Trump on something, and he thought the judge was biased.
I'm reading the quote. Hang on, let me read the quote for you. I can't believe I have to look this up. Sorry, give me 1 second. I'm trying to find the exact quote. Like, I can find little snippets from CNN, but give me a second. Can I just play this? Oh, wait, no, it's the full interview. I don't want to play the full interview.
Here, I'll stick a pin in this particular.
I found the quote. In a memorable exchange with CNN's Jake Tapper in June, Trump vociferously and repeatedly defended his claims that Serial was biased. Quote, "He's proud of his heritage. I respect him for that," Trump said, dismissing charges that his allegation was racist. "He's Mexican. We're building a wall between here and Mexico." At the end of the lengthy exchange, Tapper asked, "If you were saying he cannot do his job because of his race, is that not the definition of racism?" End quote. Trump responded, "No, I don't think so at all." Now, let me ask you, if you're saying somebody can't do their job because of their race, is that racism?
Okay, I'll give you this one. I don't know much about this. I haven't seen too terrible much of that case.
I was dying to get just one out of you. Like, I listed so many examples. Oh, I hate myself for this. This is what conservatives do to me, man. I don't know, man. I mean, okay, so back to the actual topic. All I see are benefits that we get from immigration, and in the politics scene, all I see are people standing on the way of those benefits. You don't disagree with the idea that immigration is good for the economy, right?
Not at all. I know it's good for the economy.
And you don't disagree with the idea that immigration lowers crime, right?
This is what I know. Like, how does it lower crime?
Because they commit less crime.
Like, yeah, but how does them committing less crime lower the crime rate overall?
Because if they're part, really, like if they're part of the population and they commit less crime as a percentage of the population, then the overall percentage goes down, right? If they committed more crime, they would raise the percentage of the population that commits crime. Like, have you ever, like, are you in college, dude?
I never went to college. I drive a truck for a living.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Well, what about high school? Did you know what a grade curve is?
A grade curve. You might have to
You've never
refresh
had a
my memory. I wasn't that.
Okay,
I probably did,
like
but
in school,
I probably did, but I've tried to forget most of high school.
yeah,
To be completely
the teacher
honest.
will give you some bonus points based on the average of the class. That's the curve. Like if the class, if like the class does poorly, but some people do particularly well, sometimes the teacher curves the grade up because of that. Like that's how like that's how Mexican immigration works. So like if they come here and a population commits certain crime, but they commit less crime, the curve goes down.
Okay, I kind of see what you're getting at.
I mean, I sent you an outline that can explain all the different ways. I remember two specific studies, one by Ruben Roombout, that observed the percentage of incarceration of crime-aged. My girlfriend handed me a note that says he kicked the judge because he wouldn't vote the way he wanted is racist.
It is racist.
Yeah, that's racist.
That's,
Well, I finally got him to submit on that, girl.
yeah, it took me that long to write it down.
Sorry, we're all laughing at your expense, my dude.
Story of my life. Why do you think I'm trying to forget high school?
Yeah. So I sent you on the notes I sent you. There should be two studies. One's by Ruben Roombout, where he observes the incarceration rates of immigrants, and their percentage of immigrants that are incarcerated for like per 100,000, and it's lower when compared to the percentage of natives and their incarceration rates. So that's one way we know that they lower crime. And the other way is some U.S. Anglo Commission U.S. Mexican Commission on Border Security. I don't remember. I have to look it up. But basically what they did was they looked at border towns, which would be overwhelmingly Hispanic and overwhelmingly immigrant. And they basically looked at all these border cities with high immigrant populations, and they compared their crime rate with cities with low immigrant populations. And they basically found that there's a disparity. These towns actually commit less crime. That's not every town, of course. By and large, everywhere is different. I'm sure they had a control to explain it, but basically, study after study finds this is the case. Immigrants behave themselves.
Fair enough. Like I was mainly just trying to figure out the math on how them coming in and committing less crime lowers our crime rate. Anyway, like I said, I have no problem with immigration. I have no problem with anybody that wants to come over. I know.
Please stop voting Republican. It kills me.
I'm not gonna do that until some of these people pull their heads out of their asses and stop wasting my time and my tax dollars. Especially when they're voting in people like Cortez who can't even plan enough to get herself an apartment.
You voted in Donald Trump. Did you vote Donald Trump?
Yes.
Don't even talk, dude.
No way in hell was I gonna vote Clinton in there.
Yeah, but don't bitch about Cortez and how she budgets if you're going to vote for Trump, who's adding to the deficit. That's called a double standard.
How is he adding to the deficit.
Well, he passed a tax cut last year.
Yeah, but how does that add to the deficit? That just cuts taxes.
Are you serious? Wait, are you memeing on me right now, or are you actually serious?
It's a combination. I'm serious because like it doesn't totally make sense to me, and I'll admit I'm not as much
Another word for
as
taxes is a paycheck. All right. So if your trucking company cuts your paycheck by a certain percentage, then they lower the amount of money you have at the end of the day, right?
Mhm.
That's the same concept with government. If you cut taxes, you lower the amount of money the government has.
Yeah, but how are we supposed? Yeah, but how are we supposed to be able to cut taxes with? Like, I'm one of the guys that believes that we charge too much in taxes to begin with.
No, this country definitely doesn't.
What would your ideal rate be for taxes?
On who? You?
I'm gonna say across the grid.
Well, I don't want taxes to be the same across the grid because not everyone earns the same. I think that's a dumb system. I like progressive taxes.
Yeah, but this is what I don't get. Like, why should somebody pay more just because they make more money? Like,
Because they earn more.
If you ask me, I think like a 10% to 20, or not 20. Why did I say 20? I think like a 10% rate across the board for no matter what your class is perfectly reasonable. Then everybody's paying the same amount of taxes, and we don't have any more of this rich need to pay their fair share.
You really think Bill Gates should pay the same amount of taxes as you?
The same percentage, yeah.
Okay.
Like in my view, I have no right to his money. Nobody has any right to his money. That's his money. He earned it.
Well, they do. This is part of the social contract. Do you have a right to roads?
Yeah.
Then you have a right to somebody else's money.
What? How does roads give me the right to somebody else's money?
You got to pay for the roads, right? You got to build the roads. Unless you're going to fund that all on your own, you need to tax other people to get the money. Now, this is why you have a right to it. Other people profit off those roads. You invested in those roads, right? This is a social contract in action. You built an infrastructure that promotes entrepreneurship, that promotes distribution, that pays for police, that protects these businesses. You are part of a system that gives a lot of these people all the things they need to flourish in a society, and you get significantly less out of it than they do. That's why they pay more in taxes. They should pay more in taxes.
Side note, I have to get you and my 2 cents on a debate about this because he's spoken it against the social contract before, but he's more of a libertarian / ANCAP, which could be an interesting debate. But anyway, don't do that. Yeah, no, shush. But anyway, no, like I understand the idea behind that because if you use roads and you benefit from it, I know that we need to pay for the roads. I know we need to pay for police, fire departments, schools, shit like that. I understand that, but what I never understood was why people think that just because Bill Gates makes $8 billion or whatever the hell he's worth, that he's obligated to pay the government a higher percentage in taxes than I am for being lower class. And I don't quite understand how it's his fair share, quote unquote, is him paying a higher percentage when I'm paying like 15% or 5%.
Well, I already explained it because he gets more out of the system than you do. Because he's benefiting more from the infrastructure that you've helped provide. That's why he has to pay more for it.
How exactly is he benefiting from the infrastructure more than me? Like he
uses
running a
the
business
roads more than you to distribute his products. Do you think you have the same impact on the roads? Do you think you contribute to as much wear and tear on the roads as Bill Gates does? Or do you think Microsoft shipping them PCs everywhere probably has a bit of a better impact on those roads?
We'll put it this way. I don't necessarily think anybody's responsible for, or I don't think any one person commits to. That's basically saying that my boss can. You want to be technical? My boss contributes more to the wear and tear on the roads than I do because he owns 1,000 trucks.
Yeah,
I simply just drive one of those
exactly.
trucks.
Wait, no, you're getting it exactly.
But I don't think that obligates him to pay more in taxes in order to fix the road.
Why? He's using more of the services than you are. He's benefiting from more the infrastructure in a better way than you are.
Well, then let's put it this way. Like, how would you make it fair? Like, how much would you require people to...
So there's actually a science behind this that most people reject now. We used to have higher marginal tax rates in this country, significantly higher tax rates that they were like 80%, 90%. Nobody paid that much, right? That's the marginal rate, not the effective rate. But there's a benefit to having a higher marginal rate. If your taxes are in danger of going up because you're so wealthy that you're going to be taxed at 50% of your income, 60% of your income, you're more incentivized to reinvest that income, right? You're incentivized to spend your money instead of just throwing it in a savings account where it's going to get taxed. So I would tax people higher because it puts their money back in the economy in a way that helps everybody, or it gives it to government and it just gets redistributed in a way that it helps everybody. But this is all taxes are, all the redistribution of taxes are just investments in human capital, right? We're finding different ways to make people smarter because smart people make better workers, or more athletic because athletic people make great defenders. Like we want people in our military who are athletic, right? There are so many different ways we invest in human beings for the benefit of everybody. And this is a national project. So I think our taxes should be tailored in such a way that it promotes that national project. So I mean, if you're asking me what I would set the rate at, I would raise the rate on the top 2% to 40%, where it was basically before Donald Trump cut them again. And then I would raise the rate on the top 1% to probably 50%, and the top 0.1% to like 60%. And I'm just throwing these numbers at random because I haven't thought this through anyway. But generally, you want tax revenue to be at least 20% of GDP. This is something called Hausen's Law, I think. I got to look it up. Hauser's Law. Yeah, Hauser's Law is a proposition that in the United States, federal tax revenue since World War II have always been approximately equal to 20% of GDP, regardless of wide fluctuations in the marginal tax rate. Generally, you want taxes to be at 20%, and you want spending to be around 20% too. And yeah, I don't know. What you don't want to do is run a goddamn deficit. How's that?
Well, yeah, I'll agree with that. I don't want to run that either.
So then we're against Donald Trump's tax cuts, right?
I'm going to stick a pin in this one because I need to look up. I've been meaning to look up and learn more about tax laws myself because they're confusing as I'll put it this way. My mom does my taxes. I don't bother with them because I don't freaking understand them all together.
Yeah.
I just, personally, I think it makes more sense that it would be just a flat rate for everybody, like, say, 15%. And then
even if a flat rate ends up increasing the deficit?
Again, I'll have to stick a pin in this because I got to look up more information on this to say exactly where I go. But for one thing, I will at the very least say that we also need people in government that aren't recklessly spending our tax money.
I agree. Like on things like walls, totally useless, expensive.
Well, it's not totally useless if you build it right.
Well, no, it's totally useless because immigration's going down. At the point of walls is to keep people out, but people are already being kept out. The economy in Mexico is improving. They're not coming here as often.
And if it keeps going up, and if we can control the crime along the Texas border, which from a graph I'm looking at is where a lot of the I looked up a graph of apprehensions at the U.S. border, And
Well, yeah,
apprehensions
that's where they're going to apprehend them.
well, I mean, from the places that, for a few of the places that they're crossing, we definitely should, because these people are just walking right across. Because a lot of these are, but there's a. From El Paso to around Laredo, there's about almost 30,000 people that they've detained. Let me get the link for this. Nope.
Just curiosity, would you agree with the idea of an electrified fence?
If that would do the job that I wanted to do, I would be perfectly fine with that. All I care about is, like, that's one thing I've said to everybody that I've discussed the wall with. I've said I'm open to other suggestions, as long as it's effective at keeping out the stuff that I want to keep out. I don't care what we do.
Hmm. So would you be okay with shooting immigrants? Like
With what?
if you see immigrants illegally crossing, would you be okay with the border patrol shooting them?
Yeah, they're too far, because I know not all of them are coming over here to commit crimes, but
Well, it'll do the trick though, right?
yeah, but do the trick. But that's not something I would necessarily advocate for. Like
We're okay with electrocuting,
friend of mine
just
that
not shooting them. That's where we draw the line. Okay.
well, because see, think about it this way: if they get electrocuted, it's because they decided to grab that electric fence.
Well, yeah, you could say
If
if
they
they
get
get shot, it's
shot,
because they decided to cross. Or you can use that same argument.
Anyway, I sent you a link to that one study about detentions and where they caught them. But
You really should improve your media diet, dude.
what do you mean?
What do I mean? You linked me a Zero Hedge article. Like, do you get all your news from Tyler Durden? Like, you know he's a fictitious character from Fight Club, right?
I don't know who that is. I just went with. Let me see if what other graphs I got. Zero Hedge.
Apprehensions at U.S. borders. Okay. Big Bend's a beautiful place. Have you ever been to Big Bend?
Not yet.
You should go. It's really beautiful. Bring lots of water. I don't think I have to tell you it's a fucking desert.
Oh yeah, I figured that. I've been on US 90. I've been on US 90 north of there, so I've seen how much of a desert
So
it is.
what am I supposed to be getting from this map? Because this looks like there's apprehensions everywhere. Like,
well, the one thing I'll point out, like, I mean, you've been to Big Bend, so you've probably seen this too. You know, there's nothing basic. There's pretty much nothing between Laredo and El Paso, right?
yeah, it's a big ass desert, which is why a wall seems silly to me.
Reason I think a wall would work there, though, is because the people that are brave enough to try and cross there, they're not going to be able to do it because they'll come up there. There's a big wall. Now they got to turn around.
You realize a wall
they have to
is just like the gun-free zone of immigration, right?
How so?
Okay, do you believe in gun-free zones?
Hell to the no.
Right, because people just bring in guns anyway, right? Do you think
exactly.
Do you think any Mexicans just going to get to the wall and be like, "Well, shit, guess we'll turn around"?
Well, like I said, that goes back to how you built the wall. Like,
well, apparently it's going to be electrified and 90 feet tall and made of concrete and has an alligator moat, and we'll do all this stuff. We just won't shoot them. We'll stop short of that. We don't want you thinking we're savages now.
honestly, this is how I think I would build the wall. I would have it built up probably max out at 50 feet. At the top, I'd make a path where you could walk along, and I think this would help with the cost too. Make it like a tourist attraction. Make it nice. Make it like the Great Wall of China. Make it where people can walk across.
Are you serious?
That's an option we can look at.
China, dude. Who's gonna? Okay, so you think the wall, the death wall that electrocutes people, you think that would be a tourist attraction?
Okay. Hell yeah! I'm gonna grab my daughter. We're gonna go watch Mexicans get electrocuted.
Okay, dude.
What? I'm having a conversation with my best friend about women being cunts, and I'm hearing. Yeah.
I'll tell you when I'm done with this, but no.
Hey, you said it, dude.
No, but
I didn't back you into this corner. You walked in on your own.
Yeah, no, back it up a little bit. When I said,
how about you just don't build a wall? It's pointless. Like, I don't know. Like,
I don't know. When I said making it like a tourist attraction, I was meaning retracting the idea of the electrical stuff and stuff like that. Like, make it just simply concrete, because if Border Control could walk across it from however far, they'd be able to keep an eye on it. If it's built tall enough, people ain't going to be able to cross it. Because I don't think anybody's going to carry a 50-foot tall ladder across that desert.
So, just to be clear, we're building a 50-foot tall wall across the Rio Grande, all the way to San Diego.
Honestly, I would start with at the very least Laredo to El Paso, and then look at other options for the other areas. Because whereas yes, it's pretty barren along that border from El Paso all the way to the Pacific, there's a few more towns and there's a few more options for protecting that area.
Like earlier, you were criticizing Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for her deficit booming ideas. Like, how is this any better? Like, this will grow the deficit, right? We're going to be spending money we don't have.
Here's the difference. I'm brainstorming off the top of my head, and I'm happy to look up the numbers just for shits and giggles, but I'm just brainstorming just because I'm having fun with this conversation. I'm not in a position of power where this is actually going to happen.
Smarter people than both of us have looked it up. There's no way this wall's not going to add to the deficit.
But like I said, I'm still open to other options to take care of that specific vulnerable part of the border.
Well, I guess we could just electrocute Mexicans. This is the best idea you got. Well, why not then? Me personally, I would just leave well enough alone. I have no problem with people coming into this country. I see mostly benefits out of it, and I think stopping people from coming into this country would mostly hurt us. Yeah,
but again, we agree that we don't want to stop people from coming to the country.
What do you think a wall's going to do? The whole point of the wall is to stop people from coming into the country.
It's not a wall that's going to have no entrances whatsoever. It's just going to restrict people to having to come in through the front door.
Okay. So just curious.
And plus, like,
we're about ready to wrap up, right?
Yeah, we'll wrap up here pretty soon.
You think we accomplished anything in this?
Yeah, we found some agreements. You got me to agree that one statement at least was racist.
Finally, yeah, like pulling teeth. Where do you get your news? Out of curiosity.
Mixture sources. You're gonna laugh at this, but I don't care. I do watch Sticks, Hex, and Hammer every day.
Yeah.
But I also I don't know if you heard of this app, but Bearing advertised it, so I checked it out. It's called News Voice. It tells you a story. It gives you a headline and maybe a brief description of the story, but then inside it, it'll show you like it'll give you a list like Fox, Washington Post, New York Times, and whatever publication. But it will also label which way they lean politically.
Okay. So
stuff like that. So I'll get in there and I'll check out a couple different articles on that.
So basically, you get your news from YouTube.
YouTube and an app.
I think you should improve your media diet, dude. I think you should read some CNN, some NBC, some ABC. I'm not gonna say they're all perfect, but they're better than Tyler Durden of Zero Hedge, and definitely better than Bear. That's just disgusting. That Bearing's even gonna like, what the fuck's wrong with Bearing or Sticks? Listen to me.
What's wrong with Bearing? All Bearing did was advertise an app that gives you news, and it gives you.
What's wrong with Bearing?
He
If he has no principles, he'll do anything for money. That's what's wrong with Bearing. Don't ever get your news from a YouTuber, and I'm telling you this as a YouTuber. If any YouTuber like recommends you keep up to date with their channel for what's new and anything, run. Like I would be mortified at the idea that you would get your news from me. I'm not a journalist. Sticks is not a journalist. Bearing is definitely not a journalist.
Well, I didn't say I specifically got my news from Bearing. I was saying I used an app that he shielded in one of his videos.
That should tell you something, shouldn't it?
Yeah, but I said the app itself it includes articles from the sources that you named just a few minutes ago. The only difference is it labels.
Well, you could just use media bias fact check for that. I don't know why. So I mean, what does that even matter? I mean, is this if it tells you the political leaning of the article? Does this suggest that you're only going to go to news that's conservative?
I mean, some people can, but I'll be fair. I'll check out a couple different sources.
Okay.
Especially the definite sources I'll go for are independent ones that don't have a political bias, that just read the news.
Well, I don't think most of the mainstream news actually does have a political bias. I think people just bitch about it because they bitch. Like I Would Live and Die by Jennifer Rubin of the Washington Post. She's a conservative.
Jennifer Rubin?
Yeah. Or Ana Navarro at CNN. She's a conservative. Like they're conservative. Oh, the guy who, oh man, I forgot his name. The guy who Trump told, I was going to fire Comey anyway over this Russia stuff. That guy's a conservative. I forgot his name. Like, so I mean, I kind of reject this idea that there's some conspiracy on behalf of the media to lie to you to push their agenda. They get paid on how factual they are, and that's the difference between conventional media and alternative media. Alternative media gets paid by telling you what you want to hear, and that's the difference. So I mean, I guess the question is, would you rather have the facts or would you rather be misled? And I can't, like, you always run this risk with any different media outlet, but getting your news from Sticks, Hex, and Hammer is scary. And telling you this, like, as a fellow YouTuber, you really shouldn't do that. I mean, I just gave you evidence that he's a Holocaust denier. Like, he doesn't vet his stuff. He just talks. Right? There's no accountability.
I know that he just talks, but like
the point being,
for one thing, most of the news I hear him talk about, is something I've already seen in an article, most likely. And like, I don't take just anybody at their word the second they say it. If it's a really important story, I'll look up other sources on it. Like,
okay, yeah, well, good deal.
But then, like, the only reason I will like listen to YouTubers that discuss the news is because like or like listen to him more than I listen to anybody else, and not to get information, but just because I listen to Sinatra's streams whenever he goes for current events. And
is Hirohito alt-right?
What?
Is Hirohito alt-right? The guy in the comment section?
Yeah, I ain't ever seen.
I'm not really American.
In the chat before.
I'm American by technicality. Yeah. Okay. He watches me. That's his news, dude. Unsubscribe. Not a good media diet. Yeah, I agree. Don't watch me for your news. I'm serious. Don't watch me for your news. Let anyone into the country for money? Yeah, I would. Why wouldn't you? I want money. Don't you want money? Have to be part of a corporation to be a journalist? Yeah, whatever. Corporations are where LSP gets his news from? Yeah, I guess. If you agree with me, you don't have a political bias? No. Everyone has a bias. If you get paid, you don't have a bias? No, I think that's not what I said. As a fellow YouTuber, you should get your news from corporations. Yeah. Why would he be alt-right? I don't know, Hirohito. Why would you say I'm a technical American? I'm American by technicality. Tell me why you would say that, and I'll answer your question.
Anyway, while we're waiting for a reply to that, though, like what I was saying, though, is like one of the reasons I do follow like Styx and why I listen to Sinatra talk about news and stuff like that is because like, especially like Sinatra, like we know where he leans politically. He interacts with people and stuff like that. I may not agree with what he says, but I could go in there and I can go to his stream and I know that he's not going to lie about his opinion on the subject. I can't say the same for as many of the people that are on mainstream media.
Well, the issue isn't him lying about his opinion. The issue is him lying about the facts. I don't think Sinatra's I think Sinatra's like you, and I say that with all due respect because I love the dude. Like I love the dude. I've spoken with him. We've sparred on occasion. It's always fun. I think he's actually
it's always entertaining.
A proper gentleman. But I think he's a little bit like you, where he wants to feed his own political bias, and he wants to repeat his own political bias, and he's comfortable with that bias. Like I truly think like he would never go where I don't know. I think he's a Breitbart Republican, if that makes sense.
That makes a little sense, but what?
You answer your text, or are you just gonna like sit there?
Well, I'm gonna ignore it because I'm talking.
I'm doing my best.
And
Not interrupt you.
Your answer is yes, but anyway, no. Like I kind of see where you're coming from, but one thing is like it's hard to believe a company like CNN, who for days reported that the synagogue shooter was a Trump supporter when the man fucking hated Trump, and has yet to report a redaction of it.
Where's your video?
Be clear, he was a never Trumper because Trump didn't go far enough.
What the fuck?
And he goes,
are you there?
Yeah.
no.
Okay, I saw your avatar moving like you were talking, but I didn't hear you say anything.
Oh well, whatever. You ready to wrap up, my dude?
Yeah, I guess we could wrap up here.
You got anything else you want to add? Any other issues you want to talk about?
Not at the moment. Any other issues we need to discuss, we'll talk about later. But
okay. Well, hey man, that's a good talk. Appreciate you having me on.
Yep, not a problem.
I'm sorry if I bullied you into admitting something was racist. I thought it was really obvious, and then you didn't agree, and then I had to like bully you until you did.
This fucker.
But anyway, thanks everybody.
I was joking, dude. I was joking. No, I was joking.
I don't even remember what you said, to be completely honest. My wife's just giving me the side eye and wants me to stop. So,
okay. Oh, well, don't piss off the woman now. All right.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you guys for coming to check this show out. Donate to my Streamlabs, even if you see this show after we're done being live. And I will catch y'all later.